Hello, Gary from Sky.
Hello, mate.
Any guesses as to what the first question's going to be about?
No idea, mate. Good turnout, though. We had to cancel it last week. No one was interested in what I had to say, so it's obviously not about me. So go for it, bud.
What's the latest with Harry Kane? He's sitting at the airport currently waiting to fly to Munich.
Yeah, look, fair to say I don't have a blow-by-blow account of the whole thing, but my understanding is that it's progressed to the point where it looks like it's going to happen, and that's kind of that's all the information I kind of have at the moment, and from that perspective, it at least gives us sort of some clarity. Unless something unforeseen happens, that we move forward without Harry.
You need it to happen, don't you? You're right. Clarity is important, so you can move forward. Whether it's done sooner rather than later, now we've reached that stage, I guess.
No, I don't have feelings either way in terms of needing anything. It's just, like I said, from my perspective, it's just about understanding where we're at and where the sort of status of it is. And the information I have at the moment is that the deal is imminent. And like with all these things, obviously, until it happens, you kind of leave a little bit of leeway for yourself. But for the most part, moving forward and certainly with training today and preparing for Brentford, we're doing it without Harry.
Tough decision for him in the end, it seems. How do you think he should be remembered by Tottenham fans?
I mean, I guess it's best Harry speaks for himself in terms of the decision. But look, there's no doubt he's one of the greats of this football club, and that doesn't change. His record speaks for itself. His standing amongst our supporters stands for itself. I'm only new in the building, mate, but I'm certainly not a spokesman for this football club in the sense of proclaiming people's status. But I think it's fairly evident that Harry Kane will always be one of the greats of this football club.
£85 million up to maybe even a bit more than £100 million coming to the club. You've got quality strikers, quality forward players in the building already, but will you be looking for a like-for-like replacement for Harry?
I don't think there's a like-for-like replacement for Harry, mate.
Position-wise, sorry.
In terms of a striker, yeah. Look, again, we've been planning for this, fair to say, for a while. I think it doesn't take too much investigative work to realise that this was going to happen. So we've been sort of planning for it to happen anyway. So a lot of our business up till now is with that in mind. So this doesn't change things dramatically from my perspective anyway, in terms of what we're trying to build. There's still movement in the squad, absolutely. We've still got a fairly big squad that we need to move out, some players, and I think some players will seek opportunities elsewhere, and there's still, 3 or so weeks to go in the transfer window. So I think there'll still be movement, but that's not because, Harry's gone. That's always been in the plan.
In terms of a 20 goals plus a season, man, have you given Daniel Levy a list?
I don't think it works that way, mate. It's not, it's not my wife handing me a shopping list to go down and get some milk and bread for the kids. Like I said, we've been sort of, our whole strategy has been around the fact that Harry wasn't going to be around, more than likely. So it's not like we've had to have a powwow this morning and geez, what do? We knew it was coming, and we've been working towards that. And from my perspective, we're preparing now for Brentford, and there won't be anyone incoming between now and Sunday. So that's where my focus is.
Sam.
Hi, Ange. I know you said that you've been sort of planning this summer, knowing this deal is likely to happen, but when the news broke yesterday, was there the fee had been accepted? Was there any part of you that thought Harry might say no? I want to stay. Did you try and convince him to stay? This is his team. This is his home. I know Bayern's a big club, but
again, I think if you're involved in the football business as long as I have. Clubs aren't talking to each other unless the player knows about it. We weren't negotiating with Wolfsburg for Mickey van der Veen and then trying to figure out whether he wants to come to us. All those kind of things are decided. So, those conversations I had a conversation with Harry the first day I arrived, and he was upfront and honest, and I was the same. And you kind of get an indication there that he kind of made up his mind that if the clubs agreed that he would go, particularly if it was, obviously his emphasis was before the first game. That was my preference as well. And there's nothing been along the way that's sort of made me feel like there's anything other than this outcome. So, like I said, none of these things happen in isolation. Everyone's pretty clued into what's going on. So, from my perspective, I hadn't received anything either from Harry or from the club or anyone else to suggest to me that anything had changed about his stance.
And on James Maddison, a lot of Spurs fans are happy to see him here at Tottenham. Was he a player that you wanted early on as soon as you got him, what you're expecting him to bring to this team?
Yeah, I mean, he was probably one of the first pieces of business we did. Yeah, I mean, he was available, and I was really excited to bring him into the group, knowing sort of what we needed to build here, and again, in the back of my mind, knowing that if Harry was going to leave, that's a fair few goals walking out the door, and you can't just replace that, I thought, with one player. And I think an area of the club that probably needed some bolstering was midfield threat in terms of goals, and that's what Matters provides, goals, assists, and if we're going to sort of cover the fact that Harry's gone and all the goals are leaving with him, we can certainly try and spread that out, and Matters definitely provides that, and he's been brilliant since he's coming. To be fair, he's been outstanding, not just in the games, but in training and the way he's kind of embraced the club, and the way he's kind of developed in the football we want to play.
And do you sense that despite it's been a difficult couple of years, the Spurs and some negativity in particular last year, but do you feel as if you've, despite Kane going, you've really sort of united your fan base? I think a lot of Spurs fans, when your face is coming in, you're an optimistic guy, you're very enthusiastic. I think Spurs fans have really taken to you early on. Do you feel as if you kind of, got everyone on side early on, and everyone seems really united going into the new season?
Yeah, look, I think it probably belies the general impression of managers, but we're all eternal optimists, or else we wouldn't do this role, mate. There's enough people telling you can't do things that if you don't go into any challenge believing you can be successful and believing that you can bring success, then there's no point being in it. So I was under no illusions of the enormity of the challenge, but at the same time I was bullish in myself that we could accomplish something here. And in terms of the supporters, I've said all along, they've got the right to feel the way they want to, and it's up to us to change that. If we don't feel, if there's a negativity amongst them, it's up to us to turn that around. It's not up to them to just sort of blindly. They'll always, have this eternal faith in their football club, but in terms of us, the people who represent it, we've got to prove to them that there's something to get behind there, and Sunday's an opportunity for us to begin to do that, and then hopefully that positivity transfers to our next home game, and then because the energy that they provide the players will be enormous in us trying to achieve what we need to.
Ali.
And obviously Harry's been wearing the armband in your pre-season matches. Hugo doesn't seem to be got plans. Have you decided on your captain going forward?
Yeah, I have, mate. Yeah. No, I'm not telling you. No. Look, we'll kind of go through that process tomorrow. As you said, I think again, knowing that sort of Harry was going to be here was something that I kind of had on my radar. I'm not a massive one on sort of having an outstanding captain. I think leadership is very much a thing that's very transferable amongst the group. Your youngest player can show leadership skills, but it's about sort of creating a culture and environment that's driven by the players and the people you have in those kind of positions, captain or leaders, whatever sense of the word you want, have to drive that, and sort of, that's been my part of my brief here in the early bits, just to observe, the players and how they interact, and the kind of environment they've set for themselves, and which players seem to take the lead in that, and then we'll sort of go through the formalities of that probably tomorrow.
I'll rephrase this next question slightly. Is Sonny a strong candidate for that role?
Well, it's not like, it's not like a leadership poll. We're not having votes or anything. It's just, there's obviously some people here some players who have been here who've already contributed outstandingly to the club. But again, for me, it's not just about experience. It's not just about playing ability. It's as much about the person they are as anything else, and how it's going to represent us as a football club and how it's going to represent the playing group. So there's all kinds of things that will go into it. And from my perspective, I'm really comfortable now that with the group we have here, that we'll have a really strong leader out of it, and hopefully some lieutenants alongside him.
Just a quick question about the future of another player. Even Perisic has been playing quite a lot for you in pre-season, obviously contributing a lot. Does he have a future on you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why he doesn't. Like I said, he's been playing, and he's been playing very well. Obviously I've followed Ivan's career for a very long time, and he's an absolute professional. The way he looks after himself physically, he's in unbelievable condition, and he's had a really strong pre-season for us. Both games, training. So yeah, he's definitely got a future with me, or with the football club, more importantly.
Okay, we've only got a couple of minutes left of this section, so we'll go gentlemen in the suit, Antoine and George, please.
Hi there, it's Matt Gray with BBC Sport. You mentioned you had a conversation with Harry when you first arrived at the club. Obviously you had a vision. He said his ambitions as well, but did you try and convince him to stay?
No, I didn't see the point in that, because whatever I was going to say was going to be irrelevant to what he felt being here for the last month. I could sort of plan this grand vision, but I'm sure he's heard it all before. It's how people feel, and what they see and perceive as they train with the group, and the way the environment changes, that has a bigger effect. So for me, that was more. Not that I was going to make a pitch for him, but my feeling was, we'll get to know each other over the next month. That's the best way to sort of navigate this early bit of, our sort of relationship as manager and player. But having said that, in my mind, after that initial conversation, it seemed to me that Harry had sort of made up his mind that, as I said, if the club's agreed, he would go. If not, he was also happy to stay. He wasn't like he, was kind of forcing it on me, and he was very professional about it, and I tried to treat him with the respect that a player of his standing deserves.